Into every life, a little rain must fall. That could be the defining motto, mission statement, if you will, of Season 5, Episode 3 of Better Call Saul, the guy for this. That's right, we're recapping Better Call Saul yet again, because after all, Episode 4 airs tonight, and it's time I got caught up already. Believe it or not, I do a lot more than recapping Better Call Saul. I've just been a little bit behind this last couple of weeks, so forgive me. But Episode 3 of Season 5 of Better Call Saul is the best one yet. The guy for this sees the consequences of getting what you want. It sees how our greatest dreams and our worst nightmares can sort of intermingle, leading us down the path we thought we really wanted, and then getting us mired in what we dreaded, wondering what went wrong. Something pretty much all of us can relate to, I would like to think. Certainly, my radio career was like that a lot of the time. I went from, wow, I can't believe I'm doing middays on K-Rock to, oh, God, shoot me, fairly quickly. Better Call Saul, Season 5, as it speeds towards Season 6 and its grand finale, is seeing a lot of that. Not only from Saul, nay Jimmy, soon to be Gene, but also from Kim, Mike, and Nacho, among others. Last episode, you might recall, ended with a shot of Saul getting into a car, against his will, with Nacho, after first being forced to drop his treat. No pistachio cone for Saul. And so Episode 3 begins exactly where that left off, with a close-up of the cone. Poor abandoned thing, being set upon first by one lone ant, then a couple of others, and then eventually being consumed by an army of ants. An amazing metaphor for what's happening to everybody's soul, everybody's hopes and dreams, just about every main character on the show. This is where things go from sweet to ant-ridden. This car pulls into a garage where Saul finally gets to meet the guy he's still terrified of when we first meet him in Breaking Bad. Oh, Lalo sent you? Yes, he has his first fateful meeting with Lalo, who tells him he is the guy for this. This being Crazy 8, who is, of course, rotting in prison, hopefully not talking after getting caught by the police last episode, fooling around with the drain pipe over at Mouse's place, getting the meth. Go back and listen to my recaps if you've missed episodes 1 and 2 of Season 5 of Better Call Saul, or, go watch if you're so inclined. So Saul is spooked, obviously, as he would be. He's with Nacho. He's meeting a new guy for the first time, Lalo. And he hasn't done completely right by Nacho, not according to Nacho's terms. Nacho needed him to get him out of prison, and he did so, but it took him a little while. And Saul immediately points that out. He goes, I think I know what this might be about. And I know I didn't do a perfect job, but I did get you out of jail in less than a day's time. But this isn't about that at all. This is about Crazy 8, formerly Domingo, in prison, and they need him not to talk. And better yet, they need him to say some specific stuff. Because Gus is a big problem for the Salamancas. Gus has special privilege with Don Eladio and Don Bolsa because he's earning money. So they see this as an opportunity. Lalo is really smart. Not as smart as Gus, but very smart. He sees this as an opportunity to not only get his guy out of jail, but to maybe hurt Gus in the process. So he's got a script for Saul to pass on to Crazy 8 to not only exonerate him, but to do so by pointing the finger at Gus, hurting Gus, and importantly, disrupting Gus's cash flow. Because that cash flow, after all, that's where his special privilege with Don's Bolsa, Eladio, that's where it comes from. As long as he's making dinero, he's protected. Soon as that stops, they don't like the Chilean. Of course, what nobody realizes in this room, this garage, is that Nacho is a slave to Gus. He's a double agent. Gus has tasked him with getting close to Lalo, a feat he actually pulled off really well last episode. But he's sitting there in this garage with Lalo, plotting against Gus, feeling the pressure. And Saul's feeling quite a bit of pressure himself. But of course he takes the job, as if that was ever an option. But he takes the opportunity, one, to both maybe get out of it, a last-minute, last-ditch attempt to get out of it, and failing that, a chance to make some money. He is, after all, he is a nascent criminal lawyer. So he says, look, I'll defend your client. I'll have him recite exactly what you've told me to. Saul, of course, has no idea who he's setting up and how much trouble that's going to lead him to down the line, and the massive consequences in store for everyone involved. But he's going to take the job. Again, if he says no, he's probably going to die in this garage. But he's also an up-and-coming criminal lawyer. And instinctively, he recognizes the opportunity to make some money here. So he says, while I will take this job, it is only fair that I charge you my fees as an attorney. And I must caution you, those fees have gone up as late. So taking into account the preparation, the hours, the documents, the rush job, transportation, it's going to come to $7,925. Clearly, a big part of him is hoping that Lalo's just going to go, gosh, I'm sorry, but I just can't afford you. Here's the exit it to the garage. Go on, have a nice day. But he's concerned that Lalo will either say, no, take the damn job, you're getting nothing, or that Lalo will shoot him. He's taking a big gamble here. And after a very nervous pregnant pause between everyone in the room, Lalo, who has kept his cool the entire time, Lalo is so suave, reaches into his pocket and pulls out an enormous stack of cash. Goes, 7,925, eh? Tell you what, for your troubles, let's make it an even 8,000. And Saul is suddenly a little bit excited about this job. He's just made $8,000, and he is getting very comfortable doing business with criminals. Now he's in with the cartel. He doesn't yet know how hot this is going to make things for him. All he knows is that he made $8,000, and that's not so bad. That makes up for an abandoned pistachio ice cream cone, although he's nervous, as he should be. That concept of dreams turning into nightmares from which you can't escape is beginning to set in for him. But he returns home to the apartment he shares with Kim. She's up on the terrace having a beer, and he joins her. And she's excited. She tells him that tomorrow her docket is completely clear of work for the big bank Mesa Verde. She's doing all pro bono work. She is, as is being made increasingly clear, on a completely opposite track than that of Saul. She's working for a big law firm, but she wants to spend her time helping those less fortunate. Sure, they're both working with criminals, but she's working with people she thinks can be redeemed. Saul is working with Lalo Salamanca. She asks him about how his day was, and he says, interesting. But most importantly, Saul Goodman just had his best financial day ever. He opens a beer and they drink to that. They then down a couple more beers and begin tossing the bottles off the terrace, attracting the attention of their neighbors, which makes them run inside and hide. Speaking of dreams gone wrong and lives spiraling down the drain, we get a little glimpse of Mike. Last episode, he blew up at his granddaughter, Kaylee, the person in this world that matters to him most, really the single thing on this earth that is keeping him tethered, it's giving him a reason to live. But she brought up his late son, and he just lost it. He alienated her, frightened her in a way that it's almost certain will never be healed. In the process, on his way out of the door, he similarly alienated Kaylee's mom, his daughter-in-law. And so Mike is just an empty vessel, drinking his woes away at the bar. Getting deeply drunk, looking as morose as we've ever seen Mike, and that's fairly morose. He points to a picture on the wall and says to the bartender, hey, take that picture down. Bartender goes, listen, my customers send in these photos. They mean a lot to them, and therefore they mean a lot to me. I'm not going to take some random photo down, Mike. Mike turns into the Mike we know. This photo clearly has significant meaning to him. Probably a photo of him and his son. We really don't get a good look at it, but it's probably them in an intimate moment on a vacation somewhere, and Mike can't look at it anymore. He needs to bury this part of his life. The pain is killing him. He gets kind of Mike-ish with the bartender. He says, take it down. The bartender's like, ooh, I think I'm going to go ahead and take this photo down. Mike then walks home with purpose, with rage, and a bunch of guys, neighborhood toughs, hassle him. Hey, Pops, you got 20 bucks? He goes, I got a lot more than 20 bucks, assholes. And these like 10 rough street guys follow him. And he's praying that one of them makes a move, and they do. One guy grabs him by the shoulder. Mike whips around, grabs the guy's hand, throws him to the floor, and breaks his arm. While all the other tough guys stare on in astonishment, Mike breaks it a little more, then dislocates it and leaves him screaming. Looks at the other toughs and goes, please give me more of a hard time. I'm begging you, let me hurt you some more. Instead, they let him walk home unmolested. Now back to Lalo's plan and Saul's execution of it. Saul meets up with Crazy 8 in prison. Crazy 8's like, who the hell are you? And Saul explains that he's only good news for Crazy 8, but he needs a little bit of help. He needs some cooperation. He's written a ton of stuff down on a legal pad in a great big hurry, and he needs for Crazy 8 to memorize it very quickly. Next thing you know, a DEA car pulls up, and the heartstrings of every Breaking Bad fan get tugged on really hard as agents Hank Schrader and Steve Gomez make their very first appearance on Better Call Saul. They've been called in because Crazy 8, after spending 2 days in jail not saying a word, suddenly wants to talk. They're very suspicious, as they should be. Their instincts have always been good, but never good enough. And it's very touching to see them again. Hank's already got stories about Marie's OCD that he's sharing with Steve. And Steve, for his part, shares a very weird story about eating a can of found frosting. And it's classic Hank and Steve, and it's really very heartwarming. And of course, sad, because Breaking Bad fans know how this all ends. But they go in and speak with Crazy 8 in this very carefully orchestrated scene that Saul set up, in which Saul bursts in and goes, how dare you talk to my client without his lawyer present? And they meet Saul for the first time and go, what the hell is your name? And he goes, allow me to introduce myself, Saul Goodman, attorney at law. And Hank, always smarter than he lets on, goes, "Saul Goodman? You mean like Saul Goodman?" Which rattles Saul because that is exactly the source of his name. And it lets on that Hank is not the dummy he appears to be. Not the goofball that he sort of wears as an exterior protective shell. But let's be honest, he is not a match for Saul. Saul and Crazy 8 have orchestrated a get-out-of-jail-free scenario that also happens to implicate Gus. So they tell Hank and Steve, "We don't know the boss. We don't know who we report to. It's a huge operation. But if you go to this location, you'll find a dead drop with X amount of thousands of dollars of cash. You go to this dead drop, you'll find even more cash. And this will lead to both seizure of ill-gotten goods and arrests." Now, none of this is Salamanca money. None of these are Salamanca people. He's giving away information about Gus Fring. He's setting up Gus. He doesn't know it, and Nacho doesn't know what the blowback's going to be for him. And he's going to have to finesse a way out of this once it all plays out. Again, all leading up, I'm sure, to that scene in Breaking Bad where we first meet Saul. And he goes, "Oh, no, Lalo sent you." He's going to end up pissing Lalo off very badly in the long run. But in the short term, he makes a great deal. One that, by the way, Gus may very well already be in the know about because he does have Nacho reporting to him. He's probably prepared for this, and he's probably got a contingency plan ready. He'll make out of this just fine. Kim, for her part, is also having her heart broken, also finding that her dream is not turning out the way she wanted it to. Because first she's defending a pro bono client in court, trying to get a case dismissed, and the judge will not hear of it. She goes, "Ms. Wexler, this client has a history. I appreciate your earnestness. I appreciate that you care, but absolutely not. There's going to be a jury trial." And as Kim is trying to explain to the client, once court adjourns, explaining to the client and her family that this is not good news, but it won't necessarily be terrible news. She's on the case. She's going to do as good a job as possible. Things will probably work out when she's yanked away by an assistant or a paralegal from Schweikart and Coakley. Rich is on the phone going, "What are you doing all day with your pro bono clients? This is not what we hired you for. We hired you for Mesa Verde. They want you now. Get your little ass up there." I mean, the sexism is palpable. Just to make the bitterness of not being able to do what she wants to do with her career a little bit extra nasty. There is an air of chauvinism here. She goes to meet with Mesa Verde. They want to build a new call center, and to that end, they're evicting a helpless old man from the home he's lived in for decades. She's got to basically muscle him out, threaten him with all sorts of legal action. She tries everything. She tries to be nice. She tries to be mean. She comes back later and tries to be nice yet again. And this man, who was being evicted from his home for corporate interests, even though Kim gets very real with him, tells him a touching and I'm sure true story from her poor, kicked around, roughshod childhood. He looks at her and goes, "You'll say anything to get what you want, won't you?" And despite the fact that I believe Kim is telling the truth, she's doing what she believes is the only thing that can get this man a bit of restitution. She's looked up new homes for him, homes that he can afford, homes where he'll own the land and companies like Mesa Verde can't evict him in the future. She's really worked at this. But at the end of the day, she's working for a nasty corporation that kicks people out of their homes. This was the dream she had. It involved defending pro bono clients who needed help. And it ended up with her evicting old men from the homes they've lived in forever. And so the spiral continues. For Kim, for Saul, for poor Nacho, who is in such a bind, and of course for Mike. As for the Salamancas and Gus Fring, well, they're pretty low already, but they still may yet spiral even further. We shall see. New episode of Better Call Saul airs tonight. I'll recap that ASAP. In the meantime, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share, hit the bell for notifications. If you're listening on a podcast network, please subscribe there. Leave me ratings and reviews, stuff like that, and get in touch with me. You can email matt@mattsager.com or call me at 646-535-4788. And of course, engage with me all over social media. On Twitter, I'm @MattSager. This podcast's Facebook page is facebook.com/MattSagerPodcast. My voice acting page on Facebook is facebook.com/MattSagerVO. And if you'd like to support this show, you can do so via my Patreon page or via my hosts at Anchor.fm. I'll have links to both of those in the description for tonight's episode. And as for everything else related to me, my voiceover reels, contact info, more social media handles, profiles, and links, stuff I've written, and a whole lot more, you can find all that at my website, mattsagervoiceover.com.